Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order of the Williamson County School Board for our August 21st meeting. Board members, if you would record your attendance. Okay, thank you. The first thing on our agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we'll follow that with a moment of silence. And we'd like to thank Deputy Stephen Brogdon for being here this evening with us. And if you would, sir, would you please do us the honor of leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance? And then when we're done with that, please remain standing for a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, board members, the next item is the approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? We have a motion, Mr. Mitchell. Second. I'm sorry, who over here? Candy. Everyone, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, when we approve the agenda, we approve consent agenda items. We approve the June 19th, 2017 school board meeting minutes. We approve board policies on second reading. 3.206, community use of school facilities. 3.216, athletic facilities. 3.604, public records request. 5.3021, sick bank for teachers. And 5.608, tutoring for pay. We also approve the recommendations for field trip fee requests. We approve the 17-18 annual agenda. We approve the outstanding purchase orders for school activity funds. We approve the sick leave bank trustees. We approve the Nolensville Elementary School sign replacement. We approve the Nolensville Hills Church of Christ lease at Nolensville High School. We approve the gathering at 840 lease at Page Middle School. Next item is items of particular public interest. This evening we have 7 people who would like to speak on that. The board allows for 3 minutes for each speaker. When you come to the podium after I call your name, please state your address, and we'll go ahead and start your address and what your subject is. Okay, our first speaker for this evening is Gary Kinder.
Thank you all for allowing us this opportunity to speak. I live at 5114 Prince Philip Cove in Brentwood, Tennessee. I am here to speak about the conflict of interest and use of the facilities. I first want to introduce myself. I'm Gary Kinder. I'm a United States Olympian in track and field. I am a 10-time member of the United States track and field team. I have been a coach at the University of Virginia for 4 years, the University of New Mexico for 4 years. And the most important work I have ever done has been at Brentwood High for the last 18 years with Coach Siegenthaler, so that you know, okay? I tell you all of this in my background because I am in the middle of the policy. And what we have been being told is that there is a conflict of interest. So what I wanted to do was bring about this conflict of interest question. And so what I did was I went back and looked on the TSSAA website, and I found out that through my research, Brentwood High School has the highest rate of participation in track and field and cross country of any public school in the state, by far. We had 124 kids on the track team, 87 on the cross country team last season. Okay, to put this in comparison, the next closest in Williamson County was Ravenwood with 76 track and field team members and 51 cross-country members. That means that we had 80 more participants at our school of the same size. The problem is we're being told that kids, because of an idea that there is a perception that kids don't want to come out for the track team because there might be some kind of a pay-for-play situation in hand. So the problem that we see is that we had 211 students out for track and cross country that were all seeing a great opportunity for advancement in our sport at our school, okay? In this 18 years, we have won 9 state championships and been the runner-up 7 additional times. That means 16 times in 18 years, we have been the top 2 team on the podium at the TSSAA state meet. You don't do that by doing favors for people, okay? You do that by being healthy and being well-trained, okay? That's how you get there, okay? So my biggest problem is that any policy that does not support the great work done at Brentwood High is in fact the conflict of interest. We obviously have great interest at Brentwood High, greater than any other school in the state, which has led us to be one of the best programs in the United States of America, okay? So we feel, again, going back to the theme of interest, that interest is the most important component of success, okay? Aligned with high expectations is a recipe to rule the world. We have high expectations in Williamson County, and we have the greatest interest of any school in the state, public school.
Mr. Kinder, time is up.
Okay? Thank you very much. Now I'm going to go to the Brentwood High School football game to watch my son. Thank you all.
Thank you. Our next speaker is R. Drew Thomas.
Colorful online discussion since I last spoke to you all regarding the use of crumb rubber at the proposed field renovations at Franklin High School. R. Drew Thomas, 113 Saddlebridge Lane.
Thank you.
So this social media discussion, a crumb rubber salesman in Cottonwood came online and personified his industry to perfection. I have copies for all board members, plus a couple extra, of this very colorful discussion. The salesman's position is an offensively defensive position, or rather I should say the industry. Their only support evidence of the safety of their product is a lack of support evidence proving otherwise. There's no proven link, there's no proof, there's no link, there's no proof. I know that the salesman has sent that message to you, Dr. Looney, because that's exactly what you emailed me on Friday. So, since there isn't any proof otherwise, we know this is completely safe. This is 3 pounds of recycled tires in the forms of rubber mulch and crumb rubber. And I want to pass this around so that you guys can get your hands in it. Don't be afraid of it because it's perfectly safe. The kids get it in their mouths. Get your hands in it and get the black dust on your fingers. That's 3 pounds of recycled tires. This is what the CDC currently has under the microscope because good school boards all around the United States, just like y'all are saying, whoa, how is this safe? It contains hundreds of chemicals, hazardous substances, neurotoxins, known and suspected human carcinogens, but is somehow completely safe and a great choice for young developing bodies to roll in. A synthetic field takes that much. That tray right there represents 1 square foot of what's required for Brentwood or Franklin High School type field. So you can get 3 or 4 of those trays out of a standard passenger tire. A Brentwood or Franklin High School field will require around 50,000 tires to give you the 150,000 of these trays required to infill the field. So that's around 500,000 pounds of recycled tires or 250 tons per field. Now here's some good news. Like I said, I'm stepping aside from this. This is in y'all's hands. I've done what I can for health issues. I'm out of the game. I'm still going to email you, so look out. But if I may, my wife has signed up next, and she's gone. I got 30 seconds to say that I'd like to officially request that when you guys go for funding on this thing, Franklin High School, we're all behind you. Just integrate a public meeting and input program so that the parents can have something to say about this, that can parallel the design development project of the field. And if you continue with the use of the crumb rubber that you're using, and that's your choice, and you want to stick with the no proof defense, then concerned parents like me and my wife would like to know what our options are should we choose to not let our children play on the 150,000 plates.
Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas, your time is up. Your time is up. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'm aware of that. But my wife has signed up next, and so I was just trying to finish up with all due respect.
Thank you. The next speaker, Ms. Cox, is not here this evening. Is that what you said?
Hi. My name is Debbie Lee. I live at 914 Elmington Court. I sent a letter to all of the board members yesterday. Has anybody had a chance to read it? Yes. I'm here. I don't even like to speak publicly, but I'm here because this is an important issue that's not being addressed. 3 minutes isn't even long enough because you saw how long my email was. But there's just a lot of issues with athletics in Williamson County. And I'm stuck right in the middle of it with my kids. And I'm watching the pain and the hurt that's happening to these kids. You guys did an internal investigation on a situation at Brentwood High School. Then a parent came back behind and looked at that investigation piece by piece, and there's a lot of missing holes there. I mean, I don't know how you can say that there isn't if you've looked at all of the information that's on there. There's questions that still need to be answered. We deserve answers to all of those questions as to exactly how this investigation got to where it was without more information. You know, where's the original complaint? We need answers. It doesn't end here. There's got to be more to this. On top of that, your vision statement says that Williamson County Schools will become a district recognized nationally for students who excel in the academics, the arts, and the athletics. Do you guys supply the funding for these kids for that to happen? Honestly. Do you supply enough funding for them to excel in athletics? You do not. So therefore, kids are going to outside sources to get the goals that they want, their success that only they can determine. They're the only ones that can do that. So the whole mess starts at that level. Williamson County does not supply the funding, so parents and athletes are looking at outside resources to get the help they need because you do not fund the coaches. They are underpaid. Most of them do not have enough experience in these sports to get these kids to the level that the kids want to be at. There's a policy out there that a parent wants you guys to look at about some flexibility with practicing, allowing kids to practice with their private coaches. There are schools doing it all over. You just may not be aware of it, or there's sports like golf and tennis where the kids will leave school and go practice with a private coach. The school coach lets them because they know that those kids are going to get better training. So, you know, you guys, I see the policies being made and they're more restrictive to these kids, denying them access to coaches that they need. It's like I've talked about with the ACT and the SAT. We look towards tutors for that because we want to increase their scores on those tests to get them in colleges. Athletes are no different, the ones that are goal-oriented and want to compete in college. You know, if that's their goal and their dream, why is anybody standing in the way of them reaching that dream? And that's why I'm here. I want to know what you're doing to help them. You know, instead of restricting them, making more policies, making it more difficult for people to coach them, what are you guys giving them? There's more to it. I could stand here for hours and talk about this issue because it's just so much. I have pages and pages. If any of you read that you know how difficult it is. I have a track and field athlete. When they go to meets and the equipment is damaged, I have pictures of it. State qualifying meet where they had to go up to a place where the equipment was not proper, it was not safe. They then had to load up their equipment the same day, go over to a college to compete in a state qualifying meet. Would that ever happen in football? That was the question I asked. Would that ever happen that you showed up to a football stadium and it was unfit?
Ms. Lee,
and they moved it over.
your time
I
is up.
understand.
Please wrap
Thank
it
you.
up.
But
Thank you.
there's more questions that need to be answered. It does not end here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is John Mayer.
Hey, I'm John Mayer. I live at 5212 Colfax Court in Brentwood, Tennessee, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. I'm here mainly to show support for Coach Sig. He's coached, I have 4 children, and we've been extremely happy with the school system. They've gotten excellent educations. 3 of my 4 children went to Duke, 1 went to Clemson, so we got it covered, football or basketball. And 2 of my children were involved in track and field, and Coach Sig and Gary Kinder coached them. They were both state champions and national champions because of the program that Gary talked about earlier. I don't know enough about the policy situation that you're referring to. I would endorse making decisions that allow our children to be the best they can be and not restrict them. And again, I can't get in the weeds on exactly how you get to that point, but all of us have children. We all want our children to excel and do the best that they possibly can. And there's nobody better than Coach Sig, but then you've got the Gary Kinders of the world that supplement people with great character, and we end up getting a better product. And so I think it is happening. I don't know all the rules or how they do it, but I would just encourage you to keep each child's future in mind when you're setting policies so that each child can maximize their potential. Specifically with Coach Sig, 3 of my daughters play basketball. 1 was a track person. Jack was in the track. And he's as good a role model as they've ever been exposed to. So I'm not going to dwell or dig into how or exactly the decisions were made, but I just want to give my personal endorsement for the 27 years of service that he's provided Brentwood High, and how much our family has benefited, and hundreds of other families have benefited in a very similar way. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Stacy Clemens.
Hey y'all, I'm Stacy Clemens Kinder. I live at 5114 Prince Philip Cove. Thank you guys so much for what you do. What a sacrifice being a school board member. We moved to our specific house 10 years ago, specifically for Williamson County Schools. Dr. Looney, you've done an amazing job, and the school boards before you have been awesome. Sheila's my district member, thank you. We moved specifically to our house for Coach Sigenthaler and Kevin Kydell, 2 great men. We knew we wanted our 2 sons, our student athletes, to go to Brentwood High School. I'm a product of public schools. My dad was a public school principal, and I know that one of the things that he's told me that the hardest thing that he had to do was find qualified teachers and qualified coaches, and sometimes the 2 paths just don't meet. And I think anybody who's been in that position can recognize that it's very, very difficult, that when you have a position to fill and you need to get those scores up, because that's what you're looked at is your scores. You're all here to make a great academic place for our students, and I appreciate that. My student athlete at Brentwood High School is 4th in a class of 424 right now, and he's also the 6th best decathlete in the country. So he's definitely a student athlete. But I understand when you have a position to fill, you've got to look at academics first, by all means. So if you choose that algebra teacher that's going to raise your scores, but you really need a baseball coach too, but you have a baseball guy that comes in that played Major League Baseball, he maybe had played baseball in college as well, who are you going to choose? You're going to choose the teacher to teach the kids algebra, because that's what you're here for. But similarly, that's when the issue of how do you choose coaches. You want to choose expert coaches too, and that's when the issue of choosing coaches from outside the school system happen. And then you look at the issue of private coaches who coach for a living. They are professional coaches, and then they sacrifice their time and their energy to coach for the school. Don't we want professionals teaching algebra and calculus and pre-calculus and AP physics, I think my son is taking, at the same time that we want these professionals coaching our students on the field? I know a lot about athletics. I married a professional athlete. I work in athletics full time. I work in the NFL, and I can tell you, we have more retired NFL players here in Middle Tennessee than we do in almost any other NFL market in the country, and we're all real proud of that. They all choose to stay here, particularly here in Williamson County. But can you imagine saying that we're not going to have an NFL player on the sidelines of a very dangerous sport like football because they do camps in the summer? And they charge for those camps in the summer, or maybe they coach linemen on the side, and then an NFL player comes to help one of our public schools, and we would deny them that opportunity because they also coach for a living? This is going on. If you choose this policy to disallow coaches who are professional coaches to coach at our high schools, you are going to blow up Williamson County athletics and hurt so many students, hurt so many athletic directors and principals who are trying so hard to fill these spots. Let's look at all the spots that are filled currently. We have Billy Jane and Medina Walsh at Brentwood Tennis. They're both members of the U.S. Professional Tennis Association, as they should be, coaching for a living and winning state championships at Brentwood High School. We have Robbie McMahon at Ravenwood Tennis, coaching professionally, coaching at Ravenwood. He enjoys coaching all levels of juniors, which is what he says in his website. We have Abby West, volleyball coach at Ravenwood. She and her husband are both professional coaches. In fact, this summer, the strength and conditioning program for volleyball at Ravenwood was with Aaron West, Abby's husband. Abby's an awesome coach. She should be at Ravenwood. Ravenwood should be excited to have Abby coach their children. Why wouldn't you be? We have the TSSAA Coach of the Year, which is Jose Lindano in soccer. Jose Lindano offers Lindano sports camps all summer, and he's the TSSAA Coach of the Year. Right? This goes on all the time. I understand you have to make a regulation that goes for everybody, but let's be thoughtful and not be myopic and not do something that's just, we only see the short-sightedness and not all the unintended consequences, right, you guys?
Thank you for speaking.
Come on. Hey, go Titans. I hope to see everybody at a game this year, okay? We're going to be awesome.
Our next speaker is Jason Grant.
My name is Jason Grant, 1626 Oak Hall Drive, Brentwood, Tennessee. I can easily say that we are passionate about our sports. Look this up, don't take my word for it, but I heard actually today that 38 of the 50 state highest paid school employees were coaches in some form of athletics. So please check that and verify that. I'm actually here to talk about that topic. First of all, I wanted to brag, though, on the administration. Would like to thank Ms. Denise Goodwin, as well as EWLP, Ruth and Christina. I am a crafty individual, if any of you all know. I do not take no for an answer very easily. And I tried my darndest to get one of my daughters into an extra Spanish class when we had a conflict with our scheduling. And unfortunately, that did not happen. But the professionalism and the openness, I should say, that I received from all parties was very, very welcome. So I am here to talk to you about the interscholastic athletics policy that you all have before you tonight. There have been some modifications made to it. I reviewed them. I applaud them. I would like to see one additional change made. Back when I was in school, and I did graduate from Brentwood High School, I was an athlete, I was a letterman, went on to college and played college ball as well. We had a GPA scale that started 93 for an A, up to 100. By the time you got down to 70, you were in the D land. So it's extracurricular activities. School is about curricula. And I would like to see that 70 be moved up to 75. I'm also a CPA. A lot of the tests that I've taken along the way require a passing of 3/4 of the material. I don't think that our athletes would be hampered if we move that up to a standard of excellence that I think they can achieve very easily, and let them learn 3/4 of the knowledge of their coursework before they go out to the field or go out to the court or any other extracurricular activity. The last thing, for those of you that represent residents of Brentwood, I need you all to please communicate with your fellow constituents. What started out as an offhand comment and remark about a separate city school district has now mushroomed and blossomed into a very real and major issue. And unfortunately, I believe it does have some traction at this point. But I think you need to have open communication and dialogue on what you all are doing behind the scenes, because a lot of people do not know what has even been reported publicly in some of the newspapers that we have. Other than that, you all have a great night, and I'll see you on the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's the end of our speakers for this evening. The next item is communications to the board. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. It's good to see everybody this evening. I'm going to start, and I'm going to ask Mr. Golden to address how personnel matters are handled in the district, just for public consumption, perhaps. I know that you've been receiving some emails, and I think there might be some confusion about the board's legal authority to handle those kind of matters. So, Mr. Golden, would you just kind of describe what the board's authority as it relates to hiring and selecting and retaining teachers and classified personnel?
Sure. Ultimately, the superintendent, you in this case, is responsible for all hiring. The board has some decision-making power over licensed teachers' work as teachers. They can approve and actually have a responsibility to approve tenure. They also ultimately are an appellate body in case there is discipline for a teaching position. As to classified, or those jobs that do not require a teacher's license, that is exclusively an at-will employment, ultimately with the superintendent's responsibility. So for supplemented positions, any position that does not require actually being in the classroom with a teaching license, or supporting licensed positions such as a principal, it is ultimately the responsibility of the administrator. Tennessee law does require the board to establish a policy regarding classified jobs, and the board has that policy. And so the way that policy is structured is the supervisor makes decisions, and there's a 10-day appeal period to the superintendent, leaving that ultimate decision with the superintendent.
So if an employee were to be dismissed or reassigned, they would have a right to appeal?
For a classified employee or for any supplemented position, they have a right to appeal to you within 10 days of the decision, whether by a principal or another supervisor. The school board does not have any decision-making power over classified supplemented positions.
Board members, I just wanted to make that kind of a public record. So if you have any additional questions about that, or if you want to send any correspondence to me to help in that regard, I'd be glad to try to lift you of that burden. I know it's always tough to deal with. I know it's always tough to deal with those personnel matters. With that being said, I would like to report to the board. Excuse me, one minute. I apologize. I would like to just give you an update from today. We had a wonderful day at school. 90% of our teachers reported to their classrooms on schedule as expected. So our attendance rate for our employees was down slightly, but for teachers it wasn't down significantly. We had a mixed bag of student enrollment or student attendance. We had some schools that were in the 70s and the 80s, and then we had some schools that had relatively low, or not relatively, but low attendance. We dispersed 50-plus staff members from the central office to go to schools and help with the supervision and participate in Eclipse activities. I think some of you actually did that as well. I went to Edmondson Elementary School and had a fantastic time. It was a tremendous learning experience, and I've gotten lots of positive feedback from those people that participated. So it was a good day on the whole. I'm very thankful to all the administrators and teachers and employees that did their part to make this a wonderful learning experience for boys and girls. At this time, I'd like to call Mrs. Birdsong forward. I know that we have some students that we want to recognize for some outstanding accomplishments.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. And if I could ask Oshina Sheehan, AP from Brentwood High School, Dr. Nikki Patton, Principal of Independence, and Dr. Pam Vaden, Principal of Ravenwood, to come forward. They are going to assist. And if you ladies will just stay right there. We are going to do something different this year. Dr. Looney wanted to celebrate our perfect ACT students a little bit more, and for good reason. So we are going to begin this year. We're going to actually go back to last year, and the students who are still in our schools who received a perfect ACT, honor them with a medal, and then for future perfect ACT scores, honor those students with a medal. So have kind of a combination of things tonight, if you will. So without further ado, we're going to start with the students from last year, 2016-17 school year, who scored a perfect composite 36 on their ACT. And I don't think Brandon from Brentwood got here. Brandon, no. So Kobe Workington, if you will come on up, Kobe. And I want everybody to stay here because we're going to take a big picture at the end. So Kobe, if you'll get your medal and then come stand over here for the board. Namra Edmal, also from Brentwood High School, perfect ACT last year. From Independence High School, Maxwell Coyle. Also from Independence, Tyler Hart. From Ravenwood, Gabrielle Liu. Also from Ravenwood, Claire Miller. And then we have some students. I don't think William was able to be here tonight, William, but these are from the June testing. We had 3 students who received a perfect ACT, and this is William from Centennial and Andrea Wong from Ravenwood. I don't think Andrea could be with us tonight. So Sarah Preston from Ravenwood is here. So let's see, principals, if you will get in the picture along with these folks, we're gonna take a nice, lovely picture that we can share. There's so many of you. Okay, a little bit. That's good. That's good. Maybe a hair closer together. All right, ready? Parents, snap away. Congratulations to all of you.
Ms. Birdsong, those students are much like the solar eclipse, totally smart. Mr. Chairman and board members, that completes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. The next item on the agenda is the board chairman's report, and I think we had some folks here from Boy Scout Troop Number 1. were they the first ones to leave tonight? Okay, we welcome. They were here for a while. Boy Scout Troop number 1. I really want to ask them how they get the designation to be number 1 in the county. But okay, the other thing, board members, the TSBA fall district meetings. Please don't forget to, if you're going to be able to go to one of those meetings, contact Rebecca Hagan about that, and also the TSBA state conference in November. Please also get with her so we don't miss the opportunities that are presented through TSBA. Also want to welcome everyone back for another school year. We had a few weeks off, and I think it's a great way to start the year on Eclipse Day and get everything rolling again. So thank you, Dr. Looney, and your staff for making a great day for our students. All right, next item is unfinished business. We don't have any. We have new business, Student Bill of Rights. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, and I would like to recognize the Superintendent Student Advisory Committee. If you will please stand to be recognized. We have a large group of students from across the county high schools. These are only the ones that were able to be here tonight. We have 3 high school students from each of the schools. They have been instrumental in crafting the Students' Bill of Rights that is before you tonight for your consideration. Students, thank you so much for being here, and you may very well be called on to answer questions. But board members, I do recommend approval of this document.
Okay, would anyone like to make a motion for approval of this document? We have a motion from Ms. Emerson, second by Ms. Cleveland. Any discussion? Okay. Dan, did you want to speak? I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Okay, Mr. Cash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank each and every one of you students for participating in this. You know, your maturity is outstanding, and what you're looking for rightfully belongs to you. I just had one issue that I'm concerned with, and I know it goes on in the schools, and especially in high school, is bring your own technology. I just kind of thought it would be a great idea to put something down in writing to respect your rights to bring your own technology and use it appropriately. I feel with a Bill of Rights, if the students hear it from their peers, such as you, I think it might hit home maybe a little bit better than a 7-page document in our policy. So that's what I would recommend. I believe everything else is just wonderful, and I thank you again for your outstanding service to the students.
Dr. Lynn, did you want to address that, or students?
Yes, sir. I certainly welcome any of the students as there's a spokesperson to go back there, but I am in support of Mr. Cash's statement to add a bullet to responsibilities of students to use student technology appropriately.
Absolutely.
And if one of the students wants to come forward and either to acknowledge that you can support that position or not, would be greatly appreciated.
Ooh.
Silence is acceptance. All right. Come on forward, young lady.
Hi, my name is Riley Horn, and I do support what Mr. Cash said about needing to be a point to address students, so they need to be responsible with their technology and devices at school.
So, Mr. Chairman, with that recommendation from the Student Advisory Committee, I would like to support that change and recommend it as altered.
Okay, Mr. Cash, would you like to make a motion then to add that to it?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to add that to the Students' Bill of Rights, and thank you very much.
Okay, anyone like to second that? Dr. Burgos has seconded that motion. Any discussion on just the addition of adding that to it? Okay, can we vote on that, or we need to do a voice vote, or we can do it on the machine? Ready to vote? Okay, board members, we're only voting on the amended motion by Mr. Cash at this time. So if you're in agreement, go ahead and record your votes.
Your
Your vote is 12 yes, 0 no.
All right, thank you. Our next speaker is Mr. Wimberly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think it would be appropriate for this to be read to the record. It's only 1 page long. Students perhaps are more succinct than adults are. So would it be possible to have one or more of them come up and read this to us?
I think that would be good.
I think that's a great idea.
Do we have a printed copy for them to see?
If we don't have a volunteer, I get to pick.
Maybe everybody participate and just come forward. All of you, please come forward and take turns going through the different sections.
I'm sure you've memorized it, so you don't need a piece of paper.
Yes, if you would state your name and what school you're from.
Hallie Cathy, Franklin High School. Do you just want me to read like the bullet points?
First sentence or two.
Okay. Williamson County Schools recognizes that our students are our most important stakeholders. As such, our educators also play a vital role in providing a safe, engaging, and academically rich environment for students to achieve success. For this reason, this document has been designed in collaboration with student leaders to articulate the fundamental commitments made to serve the students of this district. It is the district's intention to provide students with resources and support to prepare them for college and career opportunities.
Okay, next person.
Thank you.
My name is Steele Showborough. I go to Independence High School. The next section reads the student-teacher partnership. It is impossible to list all of the rights of students, therefore the following list of rights shall not be construed to deny or limit others restrained by the students on their own campus in the capacity as members of the student body or as citizens.
Hi, I'm Ellie Hensley from Brentwood High School. Students have the right to be treated with courtesy and respect by all WCS representatives.
Riley Horn again with Nolensville High School. Students have the right to have a quality education that meets students' academic needs with preparation for college and career opportunities.
Chandani Naidu with Summit High School. Students have the right to a course outline defining methods for grading and identifying major projects and exams, middle and high school only, and to a safe learning environment that prohibits bullying and harassment.
I'm Jose Guevara, Franklin High School. Students have the right to receive timely information regarding grades, progress, and performance.
Hi, I'm Joe Wilson from Page High School, and students have the right to work collaboratively with a teacher to identify opportunities to improve and also participate in discussions that affect their education without reprisal.
I'm Riley Marlin, and I go to Page High School as well. Students have the right to expect no homework to be assigned over holiday breaks or with a due date that immediately falls upon the return of students.
Hello, my name is Deanna Riley. I attend Summit High School. The responsibility of the students are, in partnership with Williamson County Schools, students are charged with certain responsibilities essential to promoting the highest standard of excellence. It's impossible to list all student responsibilities, but it must be emphasized that lack of responsibility may result in negative consequences for the student. It is your responsibility to attend school every day on time and ready to learn, show respect for others and the differences of others, come to class prepared, submit quality work to ensure overall success, utilize tutoring and other learning resources provided by the school when needed, follow all district and local school policies and rules, treat authority figures with the same respect you would expect in return, and be nice.
And to use BYOT appropriately.
And to use BYOT appropriately.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I would be remiss if I did not recognize Dr. Angela Huff for helping me lead this work. So, Dr. Huff, thank you so much for your work.
Thank you. Mr. Wimberly, did you want to add anything to that?
No, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Emerson?
Yes, thank you.
I just want to thank you all so much for the work and the thoughtfulness and the time that you put into this document. It's a very valuable piece for us as a school board and also for the system, because we have a parent's Bill of Rights and now we have a student's Bill of Rights to kind of make that a whole unit. The other thing I want to commend you on is your willingness to be open-minded. And the way the policy is written, it enables you really to make it a living document as things come up that are important to you and as things change and your needs change and you are looking for your school to be responsive to those particular needs. You have an opportunity and a right to come back and negotiate or do this document, just make amendments to it that will make it meaningful for you. And I think you've done a magnificent job. I thank you so much, and you really excite me to see the work that you've done and who you are, because you guys are our future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're back on the main motion as amended, and we have a motion on that. So any other discussion on this, or are we ready to vote on the main? We haven't approved the final thing yet. I see no further discussion. Dr. Looney, it is your recommendation?
Yes, sir, I do recommend the approval.
All right, then if you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you very much, Board, and thank you, students, for your part in assembling this document. It's very good. Next item is the 2017-2018 school board budget. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, I do recommend approval of this revision to the school board budget. Item number 1, the general purpose school fund budget amendment for carry forward reserves.
Okay, and we need to vote on each one of these individually, I believe. Is that correct, Mr. Golden?
Yes, sir.
All right, I would like to make a motion on the first one. We have a motion for approval from Mr. Wimberly, second by Mr. Mitchell. Any discussion? Okay, I see none. Dr. Looney has recommended this. If you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next one is General Purpose School Fund Budget Amendment, CTE State Grant. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I do recommend approval of this budget amendment for CTE state grant.
Anyone like to make a motion on this one? Yes, we have a motion from Ms. Garrett. Anyone like to second that? Second from Mr. Cash. Any discussion? Okay, I see none. It is Dr. Looney's recommendation. So if you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is General Purpose School Fund Budget Amendment, the LEAP Grant. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, we're fortunate enough to receive a LEAP grant again this year for Centennial High School in the amount of $50,000. I do recommend approval.
Anyone like to make a motion? Is it Ms. Emerson? I'd like to second it. Second from Mr. Haw. Any discussion on this one? I see none. Dr. Looney has recommended approval. If you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next item is General Purpose School Fund Budget Amendment for United Way Grant. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, we're receiving $47,880 from United Way to provide support and raise your hand. I do recommend approval of this grant.
I'd like to make a motion for this one. It's a raise your hand grant, and you're raising your hand. Very appropriate. Thank you. I'd like to second that. Ms. Durham, second. Any further discussion? I see none. You have Dr. Looney's recommendations. If you would please record your votes.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next one is Education Capital Fund Budget Resolution, Franklin High School Intent to Fund. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. I want to make sure that you understand what we're doing. There are two portions of this resolution. The first one is for us to complete the work in the renovations portion of Columbia State campus. As I described to you in the work session, that particular section of the building that we're remodeling requires more extensive work than we first anticipated in order to put students in there. That would require the first section, the $1.793 million. In addition to that, we want to go back, based on your direction, led by Mr. Wimberly, we want to go back and ask the County Commission for the balance of the project funds to get Franklin High School's campus up to snuff as we expected it to. Do recommend your approval.
We have a motion from Dr. Burgos, a second from Ms. Emerson. Any discussion? Mr. Galbraith.
Dr. Looney, I apologize. I forgot to mention this. It was, I guess, it was mentioned briefly because we were talking about the potential uses of the land next to the church there along MacHatcher, but and I think without that land, it appears to me, and based on our conversations that have been had, that the road at this point is not feasible, in your opinion?
Yes, sir. I think that's an accurate statement. I don't think that the road is in the realm of possibility unless something happens to that parcel of land that we were talking about, that we could have a partnership with another entity. As you know, it would require that we span that creek, and that's a fairly expensive proposition. So I don't think that we're in a position to do that at this point in time unless we get a partnership.
So I guess my request or my question would be, if that road is not part of our request, does it make sense to revise our intent to fund to remove the cost of the road, to put it down to put it to the amount that we think that we would need to complete the rest of the project, or do you have another use of those funds that would?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked it. So with the recent increases in construction costs and material costs that we've seen in the construction market, we had originally expected the road to be about $2 million, and we feel like the need for those funds.
$2 million to do
yes,
that.
sir.
Okay. So I knew the road was. The cost of the road had increased, but I couldn't remember how much of the $7.5 million.
Even.
Okay.
Mr. Wimberly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So to clarify, the road is not included within this proposal?
No, sir, it's not.
So what we have here is a project that we as the board had approved that originally started around a $9 million project and was reduced to a $1.5 million project, which we have since found is not even adequate to accomplish what the 1.5 was meant for in the first place. And I'd also like for us to recall why we as a board approved the total project in the first place. And some of the factors were related to inadequate facilities, including for athletics, specifically for our female athletes. And I think many of us have toured the facility at Franklin High and have seen some of those issues firsthand. We also, of course, have some rather significant growth issues there. We, via our policy and through our rezoning, approved the addition of a significantly large group of students to a school that, without these modifications, was overcrowded in the first place with, I think, at last count, I recall us having maybe 20 teachers who were on carts. So that was one of the reasons we approved this, and these issues certainly haven't gone away. So I would hope that my fellow board members would approve this again, and would hope that the county commission would look at it differently than they did the last time, and hope the public will make their opinions known if they do indeed feel this is something we ought to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Okay, I see none. You have Dr. Looney's recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item is request for change order over $50,000. Dr. Looney.
Board members, as you're aware, any change order that we have for a project that exceeds $50,000 requires your approval. We are recommending that that you approve a change order in order for us to complete this particular project at Thompson Station Elementary School and Middle School. Mr. Fortney can answer any additional questions that you might have, or Jason,
Goldman,
actually.
yeah,
Mr. Goldman is here.
not here tonight.
So I do recommend your approval.
Okay, anyone like to make a motion for this? Heard Mr. Cash, and Ms. Garrett will be second. Thank you. Any discussion, comments, questions? Okay, I see none. You have Dr. Looney's recommendation. If you then go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. The next item is board parameters for the 2018-2019 school calendar. We discussed this at the work session. You have a letter from Dr. Looney in your package. What is the will of the board?
Mr. Chairman, do you need a motion?
Dr. Looney, do you need a motion?
Yes, sir. My recommendation is that the board does not establish specific parameters for the 2018-19 calendar.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion that the board not approve parameters for the 2018-19 school calendar.
Thank you, Mr. Wimberly. Anyone like to second that motion? Second from Ms. Durham. Any comments or questions or discussion? Mr. Cash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I go along with that on this vote, but I would like the committee to really look into the Christmas holiday and its length. First of all, I think the kids, it takes them 3 days a week to get reacclimated after that long of a period of time off. Many other things happen during that time period. In my district, many parents both work. It's very expensive for child care and everything else. If there's anything the committee can do about shortening that up some, it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to echo Mr. Cash's comments that we look to shorten the amount of time off between, I guess, in December and in the first semester. I think that we've got 2 to 3 different breaks currently, and that chops it up such that I believe it breaks the continuity of the lessons. So but I am in support as well that we don't set parameters on that, and maybe Dr. Looney, if you could give us some guidance on how, if we have any other feedback to give on this, that we could do it casually without.
Yes, sir.
I would appreciate that. And I guess the last request is that maybe we have a single calendar to kind of work from, as opposed to 3 or 4 to compete back and forth.
Okay, so that's not a parameter. That is
yes,
just
sir.
A discussion.
That's just a personal preference.
Thank you. Ms. Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to publicly acknowledge that during our work session on Thursday night, we also discussed, as part of the calendar recommendation process, that we look at our metrics for absenteeism. And I think that's something that's done anyway, but I do just want to mention it publicly that the calendar committee I believe I'm stating this correctly, does look at absenteeism and take that into consideration when they're crafting the calendar. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, and we certainly will be monitoring in the current calendar as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussions? Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Wimberly. And if we have Dr. Looney's recommendation. If we're ready to vote, go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. Next item is classified pay charts edits. Dr. Looney?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. As we discussed in detail at the work session, there are some need to make some edits as a result of some errors that were made in the classified pay chart. This just corrects that so that we can pay and classify employees appropriately.
Okay, anyone like to make a motion for these edits to our current pay chart? Motion for Ms. Cleveland, second by Ms. Emerson. Any further discussion? Okay, I see none. It's Dr. Looney's recommendation. If you go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
All right, thank you. We're now into new business item 7F, board policies on first reading. The first one is 2.805 on purchasing. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This proposed policy revision just changes the bid floor from $10,000 to $25,000 because of change in state law. We do recommend approval of this.
Anyone like to make a motion on this one? Mr. Hall makes the motion, and I'd like to second it. Mr. Cash seconds the motion. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, I see none. You have Dr. Looney's recommendation. If you'd go ahead and record your votes then, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next board policy is 4.301, interscholastic athletics. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. I know that we've been having lots of discussion about interscholastic athletics. This is the first reading of this policy. I do recommend that you advance it, and we'll bring it back to the policy committee to discuss further.
Anyone? Sorry. Anyone like to make a recommendation? Mr. Mitchell makes a move for approval. Mr. Galbraith, second. Any further discussion? Okay, you have Dr. Looney's recommendation. This is a first reading. If you'd go ahead and record your votes.
Your vote is 10 yes, 1 abstain.
Thank you, Board. Next item is 4.502, Family and Community Engagement in Educational Programs. It's first reading on this policy. Dr. Looney?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The blue outlines identify what the changes are. I do recommend approval of this upon first reading.
Would like to make a motion on this one for first reading. We have Ms. Garrett will make the motion. Second. Mr. Cash seconds the motion. Any discussion on this one? Okay, I see no further discussion. You have Dr. Looney's recommendation. Go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you. The next first reading policy is 4.600, report cards and grading systems. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. You may recall that this is the policy that's resulting of a change in state rule. We requested a waiver for 1 year of this rule. That waiver request was denied. I would say that I hesitantly support the change in this policy because we have to. I do not think it's necessarily in the best interest of our district, but we don't have a choice.
Anyone like to make a motion on this one for first reading?
We don't have a choice, ladies and gentlemen. I requested a waiver. It was denied. We have to comply with state law or...
Mr. Wimberly makes a motion. Mr. Hall seconds the motion. Very tentatively in both accounts. Any further discussion on this one? Mr. Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Looney, could you kind of expand on your...
Yes, sir. I would be glad to. The short story is this. The state is telling us how much we have to weight classes. And our district has done a very good job of producing wonderful scholars. And now the state is requiring that we weight certain courses in particular ways, CTE courses and dual enrollment courses. It is going to suppress the number of honors and AP classes and increase the number of dual enrollment classes is what the effect of this is going to be.
Okay. Mr. Cash?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Looney, what can we do about this? You know, the state's dictating to us. Our scores are excellent. We're one of the finest school systems in the state. And deny, deny, deny. What can we do as a board and take some local authority back?
Yes, sir, that's a great question. My suggestion would be that when we get close to the legislative session, we approach our delegation and that we pursue legislative change to make sure that we maintain local control. I would completely understand if the system that we were using was not producing what we are, but our students are doing great things. Our teachers are doing a wonderful job, and I absolutely see no reason for the state to mandate the weight that we give certain classes.
Thank you. Dr. Burgos?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just thought I'd explain why I'm going to vote no. I think it will pass, and it needs to pass because we have to follow law, but it makes me mad. And so I'm going to vote no because that's one of the reasons I ran, is to push back against top-down bullying of these wonderful local school districts, ours being the best in the state. Watching our teachers, watching the central office, learning from the inside out just how much work and integrity goes into this district, it makes me frustrated, and that's an understatement, that they continue to federally mandate or state mandate things that are not good for us. So I'm going to vote no for this.
Thank you. Mr. Wimberly?
With the Tennessee School Board Association annual convention coming up, I wonder if this is something that we could put in front of TSBA, and I wonder if the board would feel comfortable asking our chairman, who's on the board of TSBA, to kind of lead us through that.
I'm happy to do that. As we discussed at the work session the other night, this is the type of thing that this board would need to address if we want to take it further, that it goes as an issue that TSBA represents for the whole state. So if this is something we want to do, then I'll get with Dr. Looney and Mr. Golden and put together documents to bring back to the board for your approval. Any other comments on this? We have Ms. Emerson.
Thank you. I think it's a great idea.
Okay. Thank you. We have a reluctant motion and second on this one. You have Dr. Looney's recommendation. If you'd go ahead and record your votes, please.
Your vote is 10 yes, 1 no.
Thank you, Board. We have now a new policy to look at: use and parking of private motor vehicles on school property. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. As you know, this is the work as a result of a task force that we convened to address student driving mortality rates in Williamson County. I'm really thankful for the work that Dr. Huff and the committee did in order to come up with some suggestions. The proposed plan is a result of a lot of hard work and a lot of experts giving us really good sound advice about how we might increase driver safety. With that in mind, I do recommend that you approve this proposed policy that would require students to complete a driver safety course in order to park on school grounds.
Okay, anyone like to make a motion for this one? Ms. Emerson's motion, like to second it? Mr. Hall seconds the motion. Any discussion, comments, or questions? Ms. Cleveland?
Dr. Looney, can you expand a little bit on what the driver's school is and how it does not relate to the actual driver's ed the kids take?
Yes, ma'am, that's a great question. I think there's been some misinformation or some confusion. So this particular program is actually sponsored by the Tennessee Highway Patrol. It's called Checkpoints. It's a 1-hour program that is offered at all of our schools free of charge to families. So that program has a curriculum associated with it, and the students and the parents have to participate at some level. The students walk away with a social contract with them and their parent, talking about graduated driving privileges and safe driving. It is completely independent and separate apart from any driver's course that a student might take that would, one, help them get reduced insurance rates from moms and dads, because this course that we're offering doesn't teach students to drive, it teaches students to drive more safely. So the traditional driver's ed courses actually teaches students to drive, whereas this one focuses on safety specifically.
Okay. Mr. Galbraith?
Yeah, so Dr. Lee, am I correct in saying that you've already implemented this procedure at the school level? So this is just the formalization as a board policy, and you've done so within your right to do so. You're just looking for us to formalize what the recommendation of the committee into board policy, so that it.
Yes, sir, absolutely. Superintendents come and go, as you know, and so this could go away tomorrow potentially. I hope it doesn't, but it could. And so I would like to ratify it in board policy so that this board and future boards continue to value student driving safety.
Sorry, the intention there was just to say, hey, this hasn't passed yet, but it's already.
Yes, sir.
It's already a rule that's being implemented.
Yes, sir. And it's gone exceedingly well.
Right.
Mr. Wimberly?
Dr. Looney, in this course, is there much emphasis placed on driving distractively, if that's the proper word? And that's my first question. And the second question is, you seem quite passionate about this. Why?
So the answer to the first portion, or the first question that you have, yes, sir, it talks about distracted driving. We actually have a few board members that have participated in the program, and so they could probably give you better firsthand accounts than I can. I will tell you, one of the hardest things to do in our roles in governing schools is to attend the funeral of a student that we served. And we've done that too many times. And I don't know whether this is going to save a life or not, but I do know that when we all lay our heads on the pillow at night, I think we have to go to sleep thinking that we've done everything we know to do. And so I will tell you, this is cutting edge. I don't know of any other school district that requires anything like this. But if we can prevent one accident, one injury, and perhaps even a death, then I think it will be time well spent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Emerson?
I was just going to say that this is a distracted driving class. This is not, it may have some similarities to the class that young drivers take to get their licensure, but this is all about being distracted while driving. And parents can benefit from taking this class too, because too many of us use our cell phones constantly in the car while we're driving, when you're sitting in the lines at school waiting for your student to come out. And it is imperative that we set a strong example for our young people, that they cannot do this, and they watch us do it, and then they think it's okay. So this is all about distracted driving and the importance of learning why we do not need to further this anymore. We've got to put a stop to it. And I think it's a great move. I'm so proud of our county for making this available to the students, and not only making it available, encouraging and asking parents to endorse this, that young drivers coming onto our campuses have to have this done. And one of the reasons, again, too, is it's a privilege to drive your car on a campus. It is not a given. And I think it's time now that students understand that and parents understand that.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to echo the importance, I guess, and why we're doing this. I was having a conversation last week, and we were trying to remember this past year. I think there were only 2 of our high schools that did not lose a student to an automobile accident. We were thinking it was Renaissance and Fairview. And every other high school in Williamson County lost at least one child to an automobile accident last year. I mean, we had, last year was a terrible year for unnecessary loss of life within these precious children. And this is, I guess, our attempt, albeit maybe it's even feeble, if you will, to try to address that and to do what we can to keep from having a repeat of what we had last year from a loss of life in car accidents.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, you have Dr. Looney's recommendation on this one. If you're ready to record your votes, then would you please do so?
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Thank you, Board. Board, we have one of our members who will be, this will be their last meeting that they will attend with us. They have taken another position in another state. I'm jealous because she's going to be closer to the ice and ice skating and hockey. But Dr. Burgos, this is her last. She is officially resigning as of August 31st. And so this will be her last meeting with us. So I just wanted to thank her for her service to this community and being on this board. And Dr. Looney had a few words to say as well.
Dr. Burgos, I'd just like to thank you for your service. This is hard work. Lots of difficult decisions are made, and you put time and energy and effort into it. And the staff and I thank you tremendously for the work that you've done. I wish you lots of luck.
Dr. Burgos, would you like to say anything?
Sure, but I'll be brief, and I didn't write a speech. I just want to thank you. I appreciate the acknowledgement. I appreciate the ability, the opportunity to serve in this function for our community, for our kids. I want to thank the staff. One of the things I was telling Denise Goodwin over dinner that I learned that made me feel the most comfortable and proud of this district is the quality of people who serve in the central office. The staff are just amazing. They could run this without any of us, and do, when we turn over so quickly, it seems, as school board members. I did not anticipate leaving, but I'm leaving feeling very good about this board and very comfortable with the district and proud of the work that they have done, and I know they will continue to do. I would encourage each one of you to continue to treat each other with respect. I love the fact that we have a diverse board and that we respect each other's opinions and we treat each other respectfully. And we know that didn't always occur, so it's very nice to see, and I would encourage you to keep up the great work, and thank you for letting me serve with each and every one of you. It truly is an honor.
Thank you, Dr. Burgos. Board, that's the last item on our agenda for this evening, unless anyone else wants to add something. No, I'm sorry, it's too late. Yes, Mr. Cash.
Seems like I've done that a few times tonight. I'd just like to say, Beth, and I'll say Beth, you're going to be missed. I just have enjoyed and working with you and have learned so much about keeping a cool head and staying on track with business. You're a professional of the finest quality, and you're going to be missed. One other thing. Staff and finance and everyone who has, you know, got more money for this school system in grants, thousands and thousands of dollars, and worked so hard all summer. And Dave Allen, if he's still here, $240,000 for CTE. Yeah, you go, big guy. We appreciate it, and I just appreciate the staff for their hard work, bringing that money in to help us out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cash. Ms. Emerson?
It has been an honor to serve with you, Dr. Burgos, and you will be sorely missed.
Thank you. Well, Board, that's it. We're at the end of our agenda. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.